Hello, welcome back. I'm Noreen Burke, owner of Call Clutter Fairy Home Organizing, and this is my YouTube channel, The Crafty Organizer. I'm filming in a different spot today, so the lighting might be a little bit different, but I wanted to point out what today's DIY was. Now, if you've watched my channel before, thank you for coming back. I love bringing you decluttering, organizing tips, upcycling items, DIYs, and of course, a product review here and there. So today I'm showing you how to make a very easy DIY, which is an ink pad storage holder using the simplest Dollar Tree item. So here's the rack I made, and this is just the simplest DIY ever. I've had it up for the last 24 hours so that I could make sure that nothing crazy happened to it. But you guys, I am super happy with this DIY. I hope you'll love it. So let's get started on how I made it. I'm going to go through the supply list here, but this is going to be customizable to whatever needs you have. So before you get started on this, count up how many ink pads you have so that you know if you just need one board or if you need multiple boards. Here's the supply list. A piece of MDF or pine board, the mini puzzle that you would find that's like Jenga at your dollar store, or you could also use furring strips, a sawtooth picture hanger, which I did get for Lowe's for about $3, some clamps, some E6000 or super glue gel, not the liquid, your hot glue gun, and then an option here is paint, stain, or you could use some small word art or a decorative piece at the top. The piece of MDF that I got was 4 inches by 29 inches long. So I started gluing down the puzzle pieces, and if you do not want to see my first failed attempt, just skip ahead to the timestamp below. But I noticed that the flat Jenga piece was the same width as the stamp pad. So with my E6000 and glue gun, I just started attaching these to my long MDF board. And this was going so well. I really thought that I had knocked it out of the park, that I had just discovered something amazing that was ridiculously easy, and then everything went south. So what I discovered was the Jenga pieces were not deep enough to hold the pads in place. So I did what any self-respecting crafter would do. I went inside, I got myself some ice cream, and I proceeded to rip the whole thing apart. So it is what it is. I'm glad that I learned this so that you wouldn't have to waste the time. With my Jenga pieces, I started gluing 2 of these together, and this is where the clamp will be needed. I found that if you do not have the glue gun on a high heat setting, then the glue cools too quickly and you don't get a good solid adhesion. So make sure your glue gun is set on high, and please be careful that you don't burn yourself. But once I have a little bit of the E6000 or super glue and the hot glue, it's perfect. I go ahead and clamp it so that it can definitely cure and stay solid. And then as I complete each one, I just set it in sequence so that the one that is the farthest away from me is actually the one that I did first, and I know without any guessing that it sat the longest. So once I go ahead and let those cool, I take my little X-Acto knife and I just kind of like peeling an apple, I start shaving off the extra glue because I found that the glue will grab onto those ink pads and kind of make it difficult to get them in and out. So make sure there isn't any overflow glue spilling out. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of those doubled pieces together and ready, and then I'm ready to start actually assembling this. I attach a little furring strip to the end. You can use the furring strips. I was trying to do something that was simpler so that you wouldn't have to deal with cutting them into the strips, but I am going to use this just as a guide to make sure that they're all straight, but you could do this with one of your Jenga pieces as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of the E6000 and the hot glue gun, and I'm going to place my very first doubled piece. You will want to make sure to press pretty firmly so this gets a good solid contact with whatever board you're using. Get out your ink pad and set it in place before you put down your next piece. This will assure that you have plenty of room. And I actually take it in and out a couple of times to make sure that my piece didn't get cattywampus and that it didn't get any glue on it. So from there, I'm going to continue alternating. I put down a piece and then I place an ink pad. I put down another double piece and I go with an ink pad. This actually went pretty quickly. Now here's where I discover my groove. I'm using one hand to hold it down in place and I prep the second piece. I also discovered that E6000 in the middle with hot glue flanked on the outside allows it to stay in place and not get uneven. So I continue placing all of those in, and now you can see what it basically looks like completed. They're just double pieces of Jenga, but they're distanced about 1/2 inch, which is the perfect size for the ink pads. But I still recommend you placing the ink pads in place first before gluing down your Jenga piece, because I know there are so many variations of ink pads out there, and I want to make sure that they fit what you have. So look how easy these slide in. They don't fall out. I'm really happy with this so far. So now that I have shown you how easy it is to put them in and out, I'm just going to do a couple little extra things to make sure that this is the perfect solution for your stamp pads. So here's that sawtooth hanger. And I got mine at Lowe's for $3. I did add one into Amazon for you, but it was $5 on Amazon, so if you can get it from Lowe's, go there. What I like about this is it has the nails in a little plastic holder, so you don't have to try and multitask and hold a little nail and put it in and keep it straight. It's already done and in place for you. So once you get it lined up, and I used a measuring tape to get mine perfectly aligned and centered, is just hold it in place and take your hammer and tap those little nails in. It doesn't get any easier. Now, just to elevate the look, I did take mine outside and I used the Krylon Black Matte, and I just gave it 2 coats of black spray paint so that it would match my decor. But you could easily leave this white with the natural wood, or you could paint it whatever color you love in your room. Once that was dried, I brought it in. I did make this little piece of word art that says, leave a positive stamp wherever you go. I like having these positive affirmations all around me, but you could obviously do whatever works best for you in your craft room. I had double-sided sticky foam mount on each side, so I just peeled off the backing and stuck it right on. And now I left this in so that you guys could see the madness, which is Noreen's brain. I was trying to decide the order that I wanted my stamp pads to go into. Do I do it from light to dark? Do I do it red, yellow, green, blue? I played with this. So here's my thought process. Leave me a comment below. What's your favorite order when you're doing your color things, or do you just throw them in willy-nilly? Also, I'd love to know how you mark the outside of your stamp cases so you could see the color easily. I can see mine from the top, but I would like a better marking system. Once I finally settled on a system on which to place them, it was time to hang it on the wall. So with the sawtooth on the back, I had a large bolt already on. This piece that I'm hanging it on is the backing to a storage rack on the other side, and so I just used that nut. But you guys, look how easily these slide in and out. And you can have as many of these boards as you need, and you could also paint them with each color of the rainbow so that you could just have the hues of your stamp pad out there. I think this has a lot of potential to fit whatever your needs are, and I'm definitely happy with the way that it looks, and they're certainly easy to access when we're sitting at this table and crafting. I have 18 of my stamp pads on here, but as you can see, I certainly could have added more, but these were all of the Jenga pieces, which is 36. So if you have more of the stamp pads, you'll obviously need more of the Jenga pieces, or as I said, using those furring strips. So what do you guys think of this? I like it. I think it's a really good creative idea. I made this yesterday. I've had it sitting out for 24 hours. It's about 92 degrees out here today, and you know my garage gets hotter, and it's holding up just fine. So the reason I have this open space is I think I'm going to get a cute little basket, because I have these cute little squares and I just want to be able to throw them in the basket. I'm going to have the basket on 2 little hooks so that I could just take the basket down when I want to use my squares. But I cannot wait to hear how you guys are going to use this in your craft areas. I used one box of the Jenga squares because I only had 18 of my ink pads. But again, if you've got a larger quantity, quite frankly, it would be less expensive to buy the furring strips. As you can see, the strips are 8 feet and the actual size is 1.5 by just over 1/2 inch, which is almost exactly the same size as the puzzle pieces. However, it does mean you would have to cut them down. But if you don't mind doing the cutting, this is a very inexpensive way if you have a large quantity of the stamp pads. If not, go the easy way, get those puzzle pieces and just glue 2 together. Leave me a comment below if you are happy with this. A huge thank you to my patrons who have signed up at Patreon in my description below. They are absolutely giving me so many more resources to make different videos for you, and I want to thank you all for doing that. Another way you can support me, just hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and if you found value in this video, hit the share button. Sharing it with someone else will let YouTube know that what I'm putting out is of value. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in just a couple days. Bye!